Hey everyone, welcome back to ONYX Pages. I know it's been a minute, and that is healthy. I'm going to introduce you to the world of Eugen Bacon. Hi everyone, so it has been a really interesting first half of the year in terms of reading. One of the things that I'm really proud of is the fact that I have read a bunch of new to me authors. One of those individuals is Eugen Bacon, who is an Afro-Australian author who I first learned about through FIACon 2020. FIA Lit magazine is an amazing it's just an amazing community, but it is a magazine. It's an online magazine that you can learn more about. I will probably include a link to the magazine in the description below. But it is a place where you can read people of color writing speculative fiction. It's very queer. It is very anti-colonialist, anti-oppressive, and you can just see who's up and coming. And also you can, if you're interested in reading/writing conventions and the science fiction and fantasy/speculative community generally, you can get your ticket to FIACon 2021, which is a convention that's going to be happening in September of this year. All right, so last year during FIACon, I had the opportunity to listen to Eugen Bacon. I will be honest, the first thing that I noticed was that she's so beautiful and also has this gorgeous voice. And I was just sort of like watching her and listening to her, and I realized a number of things right away. Number one, that I've never really met somebody who identifies as African Australian, so I was really interested in that identity. And also, her approach to speculative writing was different. And the way that she talked about speculative fiction, the way she talked about her own writing, was pretty magical, and it left me wondering what reading her work would actually be like. So this year I had the opportunity to get to know her a little bit better, to learn about her work, and she was very kind to send me a bunch of her writing. And I'm going to be talking about her writing as the video reviews go on in the next couple of months. But I wanted to start with this one, which is Black Moon. So Black Moon is a collection of graphic speculative flash fiction. Now, let's just break that down. So first of all, what's flash fiction? That's a really actually good question. I should probably look that up. But I realize I've never actually read a definition of it. I've just encountered it. From my perspective, flash fiction is very short, punchy fiction, usually a page long, maybe a paragraph or two, designed, in my view, to provoke. It's not poetry. Most of the flash fiction that I've read has actually been prose. This is not an academic definition, so if you want that, you should definitely look that up. But I just love how short it is, and I feel like it is actually harder to write shorter works, I think, than it is to write longer works. Maybe it's just completely different, but I know that when I read flash fiction, or really super, or microlit, like super short works, I'm really moved by how much the authors can say with a really small number of words. So that's flash fiction. Then this is speculative, which of course means that all of the pieces in this book are asking the question, what if? They're leaving you wanting to explore a new concept, a new context, a familiar concept in a different way. And of course, for me, because I know it is Black speculative fiction, I'm very curious about how race and intersecting identities are taken up in this particular work. And it is graphic, meaning that there's going to be photographs in here and illustrations. I'm going to read the back just to let you see how the book is described in its own terms. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I thought. In the back it says, it's characterized as dark fantasy, poetry, and art. A unique blend of art, flash fiction, and poetic microprose. Black Moon is an illustrated collection of speculative flash fiction interspersed with prose poetry. It carries themes of love and war, life and the afterlife, hope and despair. It is a philosophical assortment that questions normalcy, embraces opposition, and takes a keen interest on peculiarity. It will appeal to curious lovers of literary dark fantasy and all places in between. The flash fiction written by Eugen Bacon, each piece is accompanied by an illustration by Elena Betti. And I'm just going to show you some of the inside. So the pages are glossy, which I loved. And so let's just get to, so each of the pieces, you'll see the pieces are super, super short. And each piece is, I really enjoyed this story, accompanied by an illustration. Not all the characters are black, although most of them are. I read this in about an hour and a bit, and I have to say I enjoyed the read. I felt like it was very it was definitely like dark and spooky, very, very spooky. There's a lot of gore, actually. There's a lot of blood in some circumstances, a lot of death. And I don't know, I liked it. I liked that. I think I like when we're able to take up death stories and stories of violence in a way that's, just spoken to from our own perspectives. So I'll give you an example of one of my favorite stories. It's quite short. It was the one with the girl with the spooky eyes staring out. Let's see. Yes, it's called Cinders in Her Hair. Between summer and autumn, she satisfied a temporary wanting by turning a whole school into cinders. Was it the malevolence of bitch girls and the opulence ranking of their homes? The spite of segregating boys and the falsity of their supremacy? Books shrieked and collapsed from library shelves, and the science lab drew a last breath before it swooned. Was it the unsolvable maze of the geography lesson and its roots and shoots, creative sustainability, tuning to animals, people, and the environment? A school is just a school. When its teachers and students burn, it is nothing. She washed petrol off her hands as the blaze crisped bodies like overcooked turkeys unscripted in a barbecue. Was it to satisfy a curiosity about how human bodies blister and scorch? The scientist at heart tossed a match and held dominion over life and death as orange flames roared in her eyes. Like, that's twisted, okay? It's twisted. And that's the picture. So there are a bunch of stories like that. Short, scary, gory, open-ended, and they left me uncomfortable. So would I recommend this short collection of graphic speculative flash fiction? Absolutely. I would definitely recommend this to somebody who, like me, is new to the, it wouldn't really be genre, but to the modality? What's the appropriate word? The style? If you're new to that style, I would suggest it to you. Also, if you're interested in an author who wants to take a different kind of look at horror and violence, I think that's something to be considered. So, for example, in the story that I just read to you, you've got a girl who's burned down her school. But the setup tells you about bullying. It tells you about geography lessons that, don't make any sense to her, perhaps decenter her. And certainly for me, when I'm reading that story, I think about being alienated in your own school, where you're there to learn, you're owed an education, but you're feeling alienated. And this little girl perhaps is just like, I'm done. I'm going to do my own chemistry lesson. And none of you will survive, right? I mean, I think it's certainly a different take. It's a different take on power as well. And if you're interested in stories that twist the gaze a little bit and perhaps tell the story from the perspective of the individual who's most marginalized in the story, I think you should take a look at this book. There are at least 3 stories written from the perspective of children. Those were the stories that I enjoyed the most. They were really creepy. Actually, in addition to this book, I would also say there's another short story about a creepy child, and that's in Tananarive Dew's Ghost Summer. Stories about creepy children really get me. So anyway, I would definitely recommend this to you if you're interested in learning more about flash fiction, if you're interested in dark fantasy, which I'm new to, and also if you want something that has illustrations, because I find that stories with illustrations kind of force you to focus on certain characters and certain things, right? You look at the picture and you think about the connection between the picture and the words, and you tend to focus on the things that the picture sort of, illuminates. So if you like that kind of interplay between literal text and visual text, that might be interesting to you as well. I definitely want to read more and more of Eugen Bacon's work. At this point, I think I've read 3 of her works, mostly her shorter works. So I'm looking forward to that as I go on. So that is it in terms of, is that it in terms of my review? I'm not going to be using the 7 cowrie shell system because it doesn't really work very well for like collections of short works. It's better for long form works, but I think I've covered most of the criteria that would apply to this kind of book. So I would definitely recommend it. If you're interested in Eugen Bacon's work, if you're familiar with Eugen Bacon's work, please let me know in the comments what you've read that she's written, what you've liked, and what you might recommend. And if you've read Black Moon specifically, I would really, really love to know what your favorite story was and what your favorite illustration was and how the entire collection landed on you. All right, that's what I've got for this video. Thank you very much for watching this video all the way to the end. And if you have, I would appreciate it if you would include something black and something red in your comment, and definitely leave a comment. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like it, and if you're not subscribed to ONYX Pages, I would appreciate if you would hit that subscribe button because it's meaningful to me and to others, I think. And who will I shout out in this video? You know what? I'm actually not going to shout out a booktuber today. I'm going to shout out Clarion West. Clarion West is a writer's workshop that runs annually. I think the big one does. I could be wrong about that, but they've got a YouTube channel, and it's definitely an incubator for excuse me, people of color who are interested in writing speculative fiction, science fiction, and fantasy. And on their YouTube channel, there are a lot of replays of really wonderful conversations that they've had around a number of different topics. I think the last one was on July 29th, and it had to do with Indigenous writers. So, so definitely check out Clarion West. That is it. Remember to read with purpose, and to, of course, tell me about it when you do. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks for watching. Bye.